Hello and welcome to Simplifying Chords tutorial number 7, page 21. We are starting at the bottom of the page on the word tonic. I hope you have your book out in addition to watching this tutorial. Okay, let's read the word tonic. Also called the keynote, the tonic is the first note of the scale. For example, in a G major scale, G is the tonic or the first scale tone. The tonic is the tonal center, meaning that it is the note upon which a musical key is based. We will talk about key in a little bit. But turn back to page 20. I have 3 of the scales here that we learned, and we learned them by the formula whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So you can see the second line shows a G major scale. So you can see in blue, the G is the first scale tone, so it is the tonic of the G major scale. So for all of those scales, the first scale tone is the tonic. Okay, let's look for a moment to page 23 on the word root. Page 23, root. The root of a chord is the note upon which that chord is built. For example, the root of an E major triad. We're getting ready to learn triads. The root of an E major triad is an E note. Some musicians may confuse the word root and tonic. In this case, we are building an E major triad on the tonic of an E major scale, so both the root and the tonic are an E note. Okay, back to page 21, the word key. In music, a key refers to the fact that music is built around a central tone, the tonic. For example, when you hear that a piece is in the key of G major, it means that the song revolves around a G note, a G major scale, and a G major triad. The song often begins and ends on a G major triad. In this case, G major triad is the resting place of the song. It feels like going home. I like that definition. Page 22. Terms related to chords. You can read that first sentence. It's just the order that I present these terms. Let's go straight to chord. A chord is a combination of tones in a specific arrangement. The chords that we will be learning, chords that are common in the Western world, are built on every other scale tone, and consequently, every other letter name of the alphabet from A to G. There are some exceptions, which you can read right there. So, look at that treble clef, the musical staff. You can see in the top one, they're in the spaces. Space, space, space. So that would be every other letter name of the musical alphabet. And then in the next one, it's line, line, line. That would also be every other letter name of the musical alphabet from A to G. Okay, so you can see how I have scale tones, and I've put in bold every other one. 1, 3, and 5. So play the notes of a C major triad, C, E, G. So this chord is built on the first, third, and fifth scale tones of the C major scale, as shown in bold. So here we go. I'll play it again. Here's the scale. C is the first scale tone. D is the second. E is the third. F is the fourth. G is the fifth. A is the sixth. B is the seventh. C is the eighth, or we call it the first. So in bold we have C, E, So how about if you turn off the video and you study and play the E flat major scale and the E flat major triad that is shown, and the D major scale and the D major triad, and read the last paragraph. Page 23, root position. Let's just look at what I have highlighted in blue. And I will plan to come back around to root position and inverted chord in the next tutorial and do a video so you can see my hands. But for right now, let's read that. For the purposes of this book, we will use the term root position to indicate that a chord is played in the right hand in its most basic position. For example, play an A major triad in the right hand in root position. A with your right thumb, C sharp with your middle finger, and E with your little finger. And as you can see, the A, the root of the chord, is the lowest note played in the right hand. And we will usually play the root, an A note in this case, also in the left hand. Inverted chord. Let's read what I have highlighted in blue. For the purposes of this book, we will use the term inverted chord to indicate that a chord is played in the right hand in a position other than root position, which is referred to as an inverted position or just in inversion. Okay, so you can play A major triad in root position. That's A, C sharp, E. Then we have A major triad in first inversion. So we're going to move the lower A and put it on top. So I'm playing C sharp with my right thumb, E with my index finger, and A with my little finger. I'm going to give you numbers for those finger positions in a moment, next time. Okay, so we went from A, C sharp, E to C sharp, E, A. We went from root position to first inversion. Okay, then we're going to put C sharp on top. So we would be playing E, A, C sharp. That is A major in second inversion. So I have my thumb and my right hand on E, my third finger on A, and my fifth finger, my little finger on C sharp. Let's do that again. Root position, first inversion, second inversion. And if we keep going and put the E on top, we're back to A, C sharp, E up high. Page 23, chord tone. I'll read the note at the top. If you have the original version of this book, which was released in 2016, please make this tiny but important correction. You can see it says may have been. So a chord tone is basically a scale tone that may have been altered to create the unique sound of a particular chord. Thank you for making that correction. Let's look at the highlighted part in blue. So it says, let's look ahead at two minor triads, which will be presented below. But let's look at the part in bold. How to form a minor triad on the tonic of a major scale. And it says play a major scale and then play 1, 3 flat, 5. 1, 3 flat, 5. I'll play the major scale. So you can see that the third scale tone of a C major scale is an E note. Okay, but the 3 flat means that we want to lower the third scale tone by 1/2 step. Page 24. explanation of the chord tones for C minor triad. I really just went over that. You can read that again. Now let's do an example of forming E minor triad on the tonic of E major scale. Okay, let's play E major scale. As a reminder, we did whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half to get that. So we started on E, up a whole step to F sharp, up a whole step to G sharp, up a half step to A, up a whole step to B, up a whole step to C sharp, up a whole step to D sharp, up a half step to E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1, because it is the same as the first scale tone. Okay, so as we learned on the previous page, for a minor triad, we're going to want a 1, 3 flat, 5. So that means that we want to lower the third scale tone by 1 half step. So let's look again at the scale. E, F sharp, G sharp. So the third scale tone of an E major scale is G sharp. So we want to lower the G sharp by 1 half step. So it will go from G sharp to G. So it says 1, 3 flat, 5. So that doesn't mean that it will be a G flat. It means that you will lower the third scale tone by 1 half step. Okay, so we will end this tutorial at this point, and we will pick up next time on page 24 on the word chord progression. And we're almost finished with this chapter, and then we will begin the triads chapter. I will see you in the next tutorial.